The first thing visible is its back. A tall vertical body fills the frame from behind, suspended in a dark containment shaft, hanging like an inverted spine that never needed a face. There is no head at the top. Only a blank upper stump, smooth and still. No mouth opens, no eyes search, no jaws, tense. Then the spine splits. A seam runs downward through the creature's back, and the column opens into wet glowing grooves. Thread-like vein tongues slide out, not from the front, but from the open spine itself. Behind it, a trapped host presses against the lower back. The host does not see a mouth. It sees only a blank front turned away from it. That is the mistake. This predator does not feed by facing prey, it feeds by turning its back. The spine is the active side, the front is biologically empty, a useless smooth plane with no sensory openings, and no feeding surface. The whole creature is built around a reversal. The body part that should support life has become the organ that takes life. The vertical predator shifts one backward, jointed support hook against the containment wall. The movement is small, almost ceremonial. Hanging side membranes tremble beside the spinal column. They do not grab. They do not strike. Their purpose is to guide bodies toward the back. The host tries to move away. The predator remains facing forward, blank and motionless. Only the back changes. The spinal grooves widen. Glowing fluid rises through them in slow pulses. Each groove opens like a feeding wound, but no blood flows, no flesh tears, and nothing spills out. The body is designed this way. Its spine is not damaged, it is blooming. The first vein tongue touches the host. It is too thin to look dangerous. Then another tongue slides out, then another. They do not pierce like teeth. They spread across the host surface and search for pulse, heat, pressure, and internal rhythm. The feeder is not tasting through a mouth, it is reading through circulation. The host pushes against the blank front by mistake. Nothing happens. The front gives no reaction, no eye turns. No mouth opens. No limb answers. The host has chosen the dead side of the predator. Behind it, the spine brightens. The vein tongues pull the host closer until its body is pressed into the opened grooves. This is the species rule. The spinal veins cannot extend far. The feeder must lure, corner, or guide prey close enough to touch its back. It is not a chase predator. It is a backwards trap. Once contact is made, the spine becomes a feeding surface. The grooves seal around the host's outer tissues without ripping them. Glowing channels align with the host's own internal flow. The predator drinks through spinal circulation, drawing nourishment into the column itself. There is still no mouth. There is still no swallow. The feeder's front remains perfectly cold. The horror is in the back. The feeding deepens. The side membranes fold inward, not like arms, but like hanging walls. They press the host against the spine with slow, even pressure. The backward, jointed hooks lock into the vertical space. The entire creature becomes a living clamp and the open spinal column becomes the only moving organ. The host twists, the vein tongues tighten, a bright line travels up the predator's spine. It does not move toward a stomach. There is no stomach. The absorbed fluid passes into spinal veins and rises through the column, feeding the predator's support tissues, sensory knots, and hanging membranes. Its entire body is arranged around vertical circulation. To feed is to brighten upward. The blank upper stump receives the glow last. It does not become a head. It does not awaken. It simply stores pressure, balance, and orientation, like the top of a tower that never had a face. The host now understands too late. The safe side was the dangerous side. The silent side was bait. The visible emptiness at the front was not weakness. It was misdirection created by anatomy itself. the predator leans back by a few degrees, pressing the host deeper into the spinal grooves. More vein tongues emerge, some thick, some hair, thin, each one glowing along its edge. They slide into the open channels, carrying the host's internal rhythm into the feeder's backbone. The side membranes pulse, the hooks hold, the spine drinks. At the center of the open column, small sensory pits flicker. These pits do not see light, they read contact, resistance, pulse delay, and the chemical pressure of trapped life. Every signal enters through the back, every decision begins in the spine. The front never moves, that is how the feeder survives. Many prey species approach the blank stump first. They test the front, the smooth surface, the empty upper plane. They look for danger where a face should be. They avoid hooks. They avoid hanging membranes. They watch for jaws that do not exist. While they stare at absence, the predator turns slightly. The back comes near, the spine opens. The feeding begins. Now the host's movement slows. Its outer body is still intact, but the grooves have synchronized with its inner flow. The vein tongues become brighter each time the host struggles. Struggle increases circulation. Circulation feeds the spine. The predator has no expression because it has no face. But the back looks alive with hunger. The vertical body trembles once. A wave of glow passes through the spinal grooves and into the hanging membranes. The membranes swell gently, becoming thicker, stronger. The feeder is not filling a belly, it is strengthening its architecture. The host gives one final pull away. The vein tongues retract just enough to draw it tighter, the grooves close around the contact zone. The back becomes a locked feeding scene for a moment. The entire monster is still. Then the glow begins to fade from the host and climb higher through the predator. The feeding is complete when the spine stops opening wider. The vein tongues withdraw one by one, the grooves remain wet and luminous, then slowly fold back into the column. The side membranes release their pressure, the hooks unlock from the wall, the host falls away, unbitten. No mouth ever appeared. No jaw ever closed. The predator turns its blank front toward the empty space, as if showing the useless part of itself to the world. Then it rotates again. The back faces the frame, the spine has closed, but faint grooves still shine beneath the surface. The feeder hangs in cold vertical stillness, a monster whose face is absence. A predator whose mouth was never missing, it was only on the wrong side.